Hi, this is Kyle Higgins, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Rule number 1 for surviving Zombieland: cardio. When the virus struck, for obvious reasons, the first ones to go were the fatties. Poor fat bastard. But as the infection spread and the chaos grew, it wasn't enough to just be fast on your feet. You had to get a gun and learn how to use it. Which leads me to my second rule, the double tap. In those moments when you're not sure the undead are really dead, don't get all stingy with your bullets. I mean, one more clean shot to the head. And this lady could have avoided becoming a human Happy Meal. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. It wasn't long before the zombies began to get clever. When you're at your most vulnerable, somehow they could just smell it.
Can a guy take a dubber in peace?
Don't let them catch you with your pants down. Rule number 3, beware of bathrooms. As zombies began to outnumber humans, well, that's when you had to cut all emotional ties. If the girls in your neighborhood are now fucked up little monsters, well, maybe it's time to stop driving carpool. You had to focus on your own survival, which leads to rule number 4. Pretty basic. Fasten your seatbelts. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
You are now on the inside of what I like to call the circle of trust.
We are all connected in the great circle of life.
You know something, Bert?
What?
I think you and I are going in circles.
It feels like we're going in circles.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Because it's a circle. Yeah, we heard about the circle.
Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hi, this is Chuck.
This is Greg.
And this is Dan, and we are Talking in Circles, brought to you by the Geekcast Radio Network, the podcast that's preparing for the zombie apocalypse. I say that because today we have a special zombie-themed episode. It's October, it's Halloween, and of course with that comes scary movies, and part of that is zombies. So today we're going to do a kind of a interesting zombie game for our second segment. But before we get to the zombie antics, how's the week been going for you guys?
Doing well. I was actually just looking at the email notifications we get from the Facebook page for our, talking about our Talking in Circles Facebook page. We get like the updates.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of looking that over, and I see, the total page likes is up 4%, and new likes is up a whopping 900% from last week, since we got 10 new likes. And I see weekly reach was about 160 people, and then people engaged was 31. So I'm looking at it, and I thought, wow.
So we're going to sell, right?
I'm like, yeah. But I'm looking, I'm like, wow, 31 people got engaged on our Facebook page this week.
Holy shit!
Like,
wow.
That is really great.
Actually, probably bad, because that's not a way to get engaged. I mean, that's pretty that's pretty awful.
Well, there's an odd number, so somebody got engaged, but the other person didn't accept it yet.
Someone got shut down.
Hopefully it's not the same people that got engaged last week on there. So,
well, my week's been pretty uneventful, but I found out I'm an awful cook. The other day, my wife gave me the responsibility of cooking meatloaf, which we all know how delicious meatloaf is.
Oh, yum. And
how easy it is to cook, yet somehow I found a way to screw it up. Well, basically, I was cooking it, and anyone who's ever made meatloaf, you basically have limited ingredients, but one big one, breadcrumbs. But for whatever reason, I couldn't find breadcrumbs. But you know what I did find? Cornstarch. And for whatever reason in my head, I saw cornstarch, and I saw, used for breading. And I know my wife was trying to get away from processed foods. So I'm like, oh, maybe this is like the organic way to make meatloaf with cornstarch. So I then, I'll just use this then. This is probably what we want to use now because we don't have any. She said she bought breadcrumbs, so this must be it. So I go about making it. I'm like, it seems a little bit weird because cornstarch is like yellow, and I'm like, this doesn't seem right. But yeah, it's all getting together. It smells normal, and it was not a good idea. It tasted like death. So, needless to say, we ordered pizza that night. So,
Nice.
Score.
Death loaf.
yeah. So
Dan's like, I'm gonna mess up our meals more often.
exactly. It might have been a purpose sabotage. I'm not saying it wasn't, but it's a possibility.
Sounds like a Jim Gaffigan bit.
Yeah.
Death loaf.
Yeah. So, needless to say, next time I cook meatloaf, I'll get it correct, at least hopefully. But Greg, how's your week been going?
Not good, Dan. Not good, guys. I've got to admit something to you. I have a serious addiction problem.
There's so many ways that I could probably take this of things you could possibly be addicted to.
Yeah, I'm essentially mainlining Funko Pop Finals at this point.
Are you freebasing mainline Pop Finals?
Yes, I pretty much am. I ordered a couple weeks back, and it's just being processed now to be shipped. But I have Ecto 1 and
Nice.
Winston Zedmore. They come as a pair coming in. So I have that. And then I found out through my wonderful Twitter account that
Which is really just, again, like aiding your addiction to Funko. But
oh, it is, because I'm following Funko, and like I said last episode, I retweet everything that they come out with where you could win prizes. I'm like, oh, they're like retweet. I'm like retweet, and so like I got all those, but then on Twitter I saw that they're like Entertainment Earth, this website that sells like a whole bunch of pop culture stuff. They have a sale going on Funko toys, and it's buy 3, get 1 free. And you can do that as many times as you want. So I did it twice, and so I have 8 coming.
wow.
Yeah, one of them is a present, though. One of them is going to be a Christmas present, but the other 7 I'm keeping. But the weird thing about that is they didn't have any of them. A lot of them were pre-orders. Like, they just came out with more Jungle Book ones, and Jungle Book and Robin Hood, the Disney Robin Hood with the fox, the king is a lion, and
what's he
like
lying
that.
about?
Many things.
Oh, I apologize
about
for that joke.
taxes, how much he's taking for taxes.
Right,
I'm glad I could follow up on it though.
Yeah.
And so I got all those, and they're like, well, the new Lion King and the new Robin Hood are just coming out like maybe next month or something. So I understand that, but I also got a Baloo one that's already come out, and I still have to wait until I think October for that one. Pre-order is like everything on that site was essentially pre-order. You could only get maybe about 5 or 6 that you could get right then.
Only 5 or 6. It's like I need 9.
Yeah, and there were a lot of them that were temporarily out of stock as well, because I was gonna finish off my collection of Ninja Turtles, but I couldn't do that because Leonardo and Raphael were out of stock. So I was like, what the hell?
Of course, they had a lot of Donatellos. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The guy gets no respect.
But then on top of that, as I'm going to check out, they're like, oh, if you spend this much money in stuff that is in stock, you get free shipping. And I'm like, well, I can't get free shipping because you don't have, they're all pre-orders. I'm like, if you had them there already, I could have of stuff I wanted. So I was like, damn it. I'm like, I'll order them anyway.
The confessions of the Funko addict is
Yep.
It's a tough life to lead, I'm sure.
You guys are gonna have to stage an intervention at some point.
We might have to. You'll get you do your own intervention with your Funko dolls. You'll walk in, they'll be in a circle. You're like, what's going on, guys? Oh.
As long as you guys do an intervention for me with the HeroClix ones.
Yeah, I need that too. It's a bit...
Chuck, we're all here because we love you and care about you.
Shut up! Nobody loves me but my HeroClix.
Oh man, our HeroClix and Funkill are gonna fight, and then the winner, it's gonna.
Mine are much bigger.
Yeah. Hey, it's not
That's what
size
she
that
said.
matters. It's how much they click. I don't know. Wait, no, it doesn't work.
I have a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and he's angry.
You can put that on your Tinder account. But besides
I've
Greg,
actually got 2 Stay Puft Marshmallow Mans.
that you may not want to share. But besides all the craziness with Funko, I do think within your addiction you were able to read a graphic novel. Is that correct?
Yes, I was at the Baltimore. I'm still reading through the stuff from I got from the Baltimore Comic-Con.
I'm actually impressed by that because I have not been. So I am very envy of you and your dedication to that because I have been slacking.
It's a never-ending pile, and I've been trying to do other stuff in between that too. But I did read. I only got volume 2. They didn't have volume 1 of this graphic novel, but I got Daredevil. I'm not usually a big Daredevil fan. I just couldn't really get into the character for some reason. I don't understand why. And I never really enjoyed the stories on top of that for the most part. I hear some people out there in internet worlds screaming Frank Miller's name.
I think lately people have been screaming it in anger and fear. That guy is crazy. Now, he is a crazy mofo. But I've read a few Daredevil stuff that I got into. I think Mark Waid had a really good run.
Yes, and this is the Mark Waid one that I'm reading. And it was really good and is kind of switching me around on my feelings of Daredevil. It was... The Daredevil has a little bit of a different personality here. He's trying to be a little bit more upbeat, not as emo, and kind of going with the flow. So he was really quite a lot of fun. And I think the stories that Mark Waid is coming up with, like the first one, it's him on a trip with a whole bunch of kids, and like eventually the kids have to end up saving him, which was great. It was a great small little story. It wasn't like this big epic. It was a nice palate cleanser with all the big stuff that's kind of going on in the Marvel Universe and all these crossovers and stuff. I felt like I kind of went back in time. It was a really well done story that like gave me feelings of my childhood reading comics, which I really, really enjoyed. And even the second and third stories I thought were really great and kind of harkened back to older Marvel, but done. I wouldn't say they're dated or anything. I don't want to imply that, but it just kind of harkens back to those feelings I got when I was younger reading comic books. And the art is pretty great throughout, but I was really, really blown away by this one cover, and it was done by Riviera. Let me see. Paulo Riviera did the cover, and it's really awesome. It's on the I bought the soft cover, and I don't know what issue number it's from, but the cover is amazing. It's the Mole Man just pushing Daredevil, kind of looks like, into the ground with this with his walking stick, and Daredevil's trying to like grab on to Mole Man by the shirt to kind of lift himself up, and the Moloids are kind of there by Mole Man's side, and all of it's done in this like the only color that's really on it is from Daredevil's costume, and the rest is kind of this black and white, but there's all these different lines, kind of like his Echo Vision going out, but it's a little bit more towards like old newspaper drawings with a lot of intricate line work representing all these valleys and everything. So it's like lines all the way down and through everything, giving it all the shading, making it lighter and darker, and it's representing of where the texture and how things are going in deep, and like just like the surface area and the 3D, giving it a 3D effect. And it's just it's an outstanding cover. It's one of the best cover I've really seen on a comic book.
Oh wow!
For a while now, I think there's a lot of great ones out there that have really interesting designs and concepts, but this one is just drawn. It has a beautiful concept, and it is drawn beautifully, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. So, with reading this Daredevil story, does that have you more excited for the upcoming Daredevil series that's going to be on Netflix?
I think they're going more towards a Frank Miller, so I'm still going to be on the fence. But it's definitely got to be an improvement over the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. But it does have me looking forward to that a little bit more. It has me more looking forward to the fact that I actually got a third and fourth graphic novel at the Baltimore Comic-Con. So I was kind of glad that I did that, and I'm kind of patting myself on the back. But I got all this stuff because I think I heard from you and from others as well that Mark Waid's run on Daredevil has been outstanding, and it definitely shows and I love how they're representing his echolocation and everything, and there's an interesting kind of love triangle that's going on in this between Daredevil, Black Cat, and Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think Daredevil is definitely a character that there's a lot there. You can make him rather really interesting. He can get a little too emo at times because
he's not as emo in this book, if you ask me, and that's why I kind of got away. I started getting away from Spider-Man is because he got so emo. I'm pretty sure it was me growing up noticing that he was kind of emo. But I've been trying to steer clear of the emo stuff, and he's a lot more upbeat.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly has bad things happen to them, but it's not overkill. I think I think a lot of times that became the thing with Daredevil. It's like, let's just kill his girlfriend, and that was a running theme for a long time. So your girlfriend's just always die. He's got a worse tracking record than Spider-Man. So,
and then the other really fun thing about this is ever since what was the name of that run? But Daredevil became kind of like the runner of the Hand. He was the top guy of Hand, the ninja organization. But he became kind of evil there for a little bit, and he's just come out of it and being really good. But it was apparently revealed that Matt Murdock was Daredevil, so a lot of people knew this fact. And apparently some time has gone on, and so it's kind of a thing that's been fact, and now it's becoming a little bit more muddled at this point. So there's a faction that believe Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and then there's a faction that's like, he's a blind man, of course he can't be Daredevil. And Mark Waid kind of plays with that the whole time. He keeps bringing it up, and he keeps playing with it, and Matt Murdock just kind of makes a whole big joke out of it. And I think that's kind of a fun little thing that keeps going throughout the storyline.
Yeah, because there was a time there where Iron Fist was taking the mantle in Daredevil way back when. So I don't know if that was before or after that. I'm not sure. But yeah, very cool. Very cool. And Chuck and I have also been partaking in something that's also comic book related, but it's on TV. And in spirit of doing a zombie-filled episode, we've been watching the new season of Walking Dead. It's finally come back, and it's come back strong. At least I think so. So, Chuck, what have you thought of Walking Dead so far this year?
I liked it. There's certainly some creepy stuff going on with the situation that everyone finds themselves in.
The dude from the Jersey Shore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we should mention
certainly is.
Yeah, we're going to be rather vague with this because Greg's still only on season 2 of Walking Dead, so we don't want to ruin it for him.
I could go off and you guys could text me at the bottom when you're done. Do that.
Well, we'll see how it goes. If we enter spoil territory, we'll tell you earmuffs. And then you can put earmuffs on. So
I'm the little kid of the podcast now.
Greg, earmuffs.
I'm a big kid now. I'm not.
I'm going to expose everything. Rick gets exposed to gamma radiation, turns into the Hulk, and they
Rick
give him
gets exposed to rickets.
And they give him a show in the super soldier serum. She becomes Captain America.
You revealed it, but anyways. So what were your first impressions of this season?
I liked it a lot. I thought they started out with a lot of action right off the bat.
Definitely.
Definitely a lot of suspense and action in the first episode, so that's always great. They tied up a couple of loose ends that we had from the end of season 4. Some of the more psychotic fans out there were kind of clamoring to see resolved stuff with the baby and stuff like that. So definitely tied up some loose ends, and seems like they kind of kicked it off in the right direction so far for this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's interesting because I think the first episode was really good. It's, I think, one of the best episodes they've had so far. Like you said, very action-packed, and it moved really quickly. And I was honestly surprised that they got out of their predicament. They're, being kind of entrapped as quickly as they did, because it's almost against the Walking Dead mantra. Usually they're stuck at a location for a long time. I'm thinking of Crystal's farm and stuff like that, where they were there for quite a while. And this one, it's like, nope. We're gonna kind of just go all the way out right at the start.
That's a good point, because going into this season, I had thought, this location that they're at, like, okay, this will probably be the majority of the season. They'll be at this place and trying to get away from it, but they definitely proved me wrong there.
Yeah, it was interesting. And one thing I like how it started, like the first scenes or early scenes where they're at like the trough, the trough they use for pigs basically, and how they're using it. I thought that was maybe one of the best scenes in the entire film, because
that was creepy.
Film, I said film, but yeah, I mean, I think that pay off, because even when like Walking Dead has been less than stellar, has had its issues, you never know who's gonna survive. It's proven that like anyone can die at any time and whatnot.
Never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly. You never do know. So I think that pays off in a moment like that, because you're wondering, like, they could literally kill this character. I could see it happening, because Walking Dead's that type of show. So it makes it really, that the intensity really amp up. And I love the them using their makeshift weapons, like they become the MacGyvers of the apocalypse.
Yeah,
that was really cool. Just like the different things they come up with the belts and whatnot. I don't think wood's that sharp. I don't think you can make it that sharp. Maybe I'm wrong, but
sure you can.
I'm sure. I don't know if
it's possible on TV too.
Exactly. So that was really cool, and I think another highlight too was how badass Carol has become as a character.
Really, your wife?
Yeah, she's always been badass. Yeah, but in this episode in particular, I mean, I'm like, wow, she like of all the characters in the entire show, she's probably had the best character development, because you never would have thought that she'd become what she has by the this season. It's kind of crazy.
There was a time there where it was leaning more towards the jerk side rather than badass.
Yeah.
And they were kind of playing with that back and forth, but it seems like, at least for now anyway, it seems like all is forgiven and things are kind of back to the old way.
Yeah. I'm curious where they're going to go with it, because I feel like we have not seen the end of Terminus by any means. There's certainly aspects of it that will be continuing, because, if you don't see bodies, you assume that more things are happening. But yeah, so I'm curious. I'm looking forward to it. What more has to come? My only worry is, though, did they sacrifice a great episode and lose a great story in there? I mean, I don't know. I mean, they showed some glimmers of what's possibly to come. So I'm really curious. I have no idea where they're going with it. So
at the very end, what did you think of the sort of character reveal right at the end? Was that did that get a good reaction out of you, or like a head scratcher?
I love it, honestly, because I really like that character and I really like that actor. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, Jericho. Oh, but
yeah, no, mashing the two shows together.
Yeah. So yeah, I like that a lot. But what did you think?
Yeah, I definitely liked it. I wasn't expecting that, and I think that's a character that was on season 4, right?
Yes, he had,
just very briefly.
Very briefly, yeah.
And obviously from season 1.
Yeah.
So kind of like a little flashback there. We'll see where that goes, but definitely looks interesting.
Yeah, the question is like, that's the kind of character you don't know what he's going to be doing. Is he going to be more
exactly?
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
He's a wild card.
He is. Like I said, like I've read the comic and I'm a little bit ahead, and what's interesting is like the story they're doing now, they seem to already be deviating from the comics, which they've done a lot. So I think it has let me wondering. It's like, are they going to actually go with this completely differently, or what's going on here? So
see, I haven't read any of the graphic novels at all or anything. I guess I just kind of, my interest just kind of lied within the show.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to get into the graphic novels at all for whatever reason, but
Maybe one day for homework. That's what I would say. Pick up the first issue is like $10. Or not the first issue, but the first graphic novel, and the first season. Not even the first season. The first like 5 or 6 episodes very much fall in line with the comic, and then it starts deviating more and more, especially near the end of the first season. And then like you'll see like certain landmarks are hit, but it really changes different characters. Like certain characters stay alive, other characters die. So it's an inspiration for sure, but it's very different in a lot of good ways. It's almost like a what if issue in a way where it says, what if this person didn't die, and what if this? So it's kind of cool. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm invested enough in this world to kind of get involved with that, because I follow the show, but it's kind of like,
it's
I watch
not your
it.
arrow. So
I watch it because of the survival aspect of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the zombie part of it is really like a secondary thing to me.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the survival part, the interaction with the people, how they have to keep moving and always face new challenges and stuff. And the zombies are just kind of a thing, like an action filler to kind of like, and it's kind of like a motivating driving force and stuff like that. But
cool.
Yeah, that's kind of my motivation for watching it.
Yeah. I would say the graphic novel I would say is probably better. At least I can up to where I am now, but I could definitely understand that. If you're not into zombies, I would say the zombies are even more into comics, and I'd say the comics even a lot more brutal than the show, especially with like people like the Governor. There's stuff that they hold even less back.
That's surprising after the throat slashings that we witnessed.
Oh yeah. It's more graphic and different things. So I honestly don't know if you would enjoy it and how it goes all out. I will say that. So you may not enjoy some of the brutality in the comic, not even just with violence, but in other aspects as well. So, but we are not done with our zombie talk. We will be getting into more zombie stuff in just a quick bit, as we'll be discussing our plan, what we would do if today a zombie apocalypse actually did break out. So we'll be taking a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be getting knee deep into how we feel we'll be surviving our zombie vacation. We'll see you in a bit.
Remote Control is the new TV podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network. We'll be covering TV shows and topics from the year 2000 to whenever now is. We'll have special themed episodes entitled Pilot and Season Premieres, as well as finishing finales. We'll also have Season Pass episodes, where we take a look at an entire season of a TV show. Remote Control can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and www.geekcastradio.com. So tune in, because we are all remote controlled.
Every week on the In Session Film Podcast, you can expect to hear reviews on all of the latest movies, big films, small films, and everything in between. We'll also do top 3 segments relating back to our main review. We discuss all of the latest movie news and rumblings, as well as have movie series and other fun segments. And we always talk about the films that we're watching and why you should watch them or not watch them as well. If you want to learn more about the In Session Film Podcast, check us out online at InSessionFilm.com. You can hear our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and so much more. In fact, you can listen to everything we have straight from our website. Again, that is InSessionFilm.com. Download our podcast, check us out, and come join us every week. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, and welcome back. And like I mentioned, what we're going to be doing here is we kind of have a different scenario game we're going to be playing. So the scenario is, simply put, zombie apocalypse. And I guess when you say zombie apocalypse, it's good to indicate what type of zombies. And in spirit of Walking Dead, we're thinking the classic Romero zombies, not the speed zombies from something like the remake of Dawn of the Dead or the Rage people from 28 Days Later. But we're thinking classic, good old zombies, the undead, the decaying, slow zombies of that nature. So what we're going to be doing is we have 3 different steps. Our first step will be deciding what location we'll be trying to make our own. The second step would be what supplies will be with us. And our third step would be what rules we'd be following. So a quick 3-step process. And at the end of all this, I'll be putting a poll on geekcastradio.com where you can vote to see which plan would you go with. Which plan would you choose? Which one do you feel like has the best chance of surviving the zombie apocalypse? So Be curious to see where that goes out. And I'm sure, like always, I will not win these polls because I never do.
Well, we've only had 2, to be fair, so...
True.
This is your time to shine, Dan.
It is. Hopefully it is my time to shine. It's like our fantasy league. I never win the championship. Somehow, it's not meant for me, I guess.
Got a better chance than me this year.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry. All right, so step 1, location. Location. In this step, we will determine what our primary desired location will be. Are we just going to huddle in our homes and wait for everything to blow over? Perhaps we'll pull a Dawn of the Dead and go to our local shopping mall. Maybe become nomad and travel up north. Anything is on the table as long as we can justify it. So, I'll start with my first location, and I'll be honest, I don't think it's the most eventful, but I think I have a good reasoning for it. So I actually did a little bit of research to see where would be the best location to survive this zombie apocalypse. And one thing I pulled up was an indication of what state would be the best way to survive. And I'll preface this by saying I don't necessarily agree with this, but let's look at their logic. With this website, indicated with a low population density in federal licensed firearms dealers and hospitals and Walmarts more than any other state, they indicate Texas is an easy choice for the best place to survive a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
It also has more military bases than most handful of states. Come in handy in zombie invasion, and you have a number of supplies in those locations as well. So they're saying, low population, a lot of guns, and military. But my issue with something like that is one thing it has a lot of too is desert, and with desert comes lack of food, lack of shelter. So I personally, and it's also Texas, and I don't know I'd want to go to Texas.
Yeah, you have other people with crazy people there that are living that are going to have guns.
Yeah. So the gun thing is, it's one thing, but it also means that you were living in an apocalypse with some Texans that now can kind of have free reign with their guns who like to shoot people to begin with. I don't know. Maybe I'll stay out of that. But my first thought, though, this is my first thought when it comes to location. Again, not very creative, but I have some reasoning for it. When the zombie location or zombie apocalypse first starts, I'd also honestly stay in my current location at my apartment. I mean, again, not that creative, but it's actually in a good location. It's down low within the apartment structure, so there's not a lot of foot traffic. There's an easy way to protect myself because of the stairs. It's also in a low density area for the most part, not nearly as populated as some other areas around here. There's a lot of those supplies within the area as well that I could go off to. Like we have a little bit of Rite Aids and things like that would have your supplies for things like medicine and food and supermarkets and whatnot. And I think too, it's just a good place to kind of just let things kind of take place first. And I'll get into that in my rules. So it's a good, I think a good way to protect myself, because there's not a lot of people within this area compared to most apartment locations. And I just think the structure of the way my apartment's selected, it's hard to kind of get into it. So I do have a glass window, and glass windows which would have to be protected. But I think to start off with, it'd be a good place to kind of bunker down and let things kind of flow over. But my ultimate location, the only place I would want to go to though, is I talked about Texas, but I want to go to Texas because I said the craziness. Honestly, though, I try to go to North Carolina. The reason being, North Carolina, too, has a low population. It also has mountains in northern North Carolina, which I think is my preference of where I'd want to be. You don't have many people. You have high ground. You can try to protect yourself. You also have food supplies with things like animals and deer and whatnot. You would have some issues with the winter. I do see that, but my ultimate location would try to get to one of the army bases, depending on the situation. Because I know in most movies and most things that army bases are like the first things that go. I think in a reality situation, they might be a good location to eventually get to or try to get to, even just for supplies. So, but I think I would try to hang out in North Carolina, in the mountains, get high ground, maybe build a tree house because tree houses are cool. So I don't know, but that's my ultimate destination for the most part. So again, I don't know how inventive that is, but I thought I had some logic. Greg, I know you're probably more of a zombie expert than I am, so I'm curious to hear what your location would be.
Yeah, and sorry, Dan, but I kind of found a lot of faults in your choices there, but I'll leave that up to the people listening to come up with. But my location is Sam's Club that is in our area. And the reason I choose that is there's not a lot of places to get into that place. It's mostly a cinder block building with a door in and a door out, essentially not that far away from each other.
And
so
a lot of the zombies may not have membership, so they probably won't be allowed in.
Exactly. And so I think that would be an easy spot to barricade. And then also with being there is a humongous food supply there. There is, if the zombies do make it in, there you can climb up on the shelves to get up high because zombies can't climb. Then you've also got the fact that they have generators for sale there. So you've got your electricity in stock. You're just going to need to find gas. And the layout of this place has it so it's up a hill. So you have one side where they're going to have an issue, two sides that they're going to have an issue trying to get up on because it's essentially 45-degree angle slope. And these slow walkers don't have a lot of muscle because they're deteriorating. So they're going to have issues getting up those two sides. Third side has a slant coming 45 degrees down on it. So I'd set up like some kind of pikes or something around that area. And then also the only side that I have left, the only thing I have to do is there's a Lowe's nearby and I could kind of fence off that area in the meantime. Or there's cars in the parking lot, take all the cars and kind of pile them up so it gives the zombies a harder time to penetrate through. And there's also many different stores around that area. There's Gander Mountain, so that's a good supply out for weaponry and stuff like that. And I think I hit everything that I wanted to talk about with my location for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, definitely make a good argument, much better than I did, for sure. Chuck, where is your location?
My location is probably more along Dan's lines than Greg's, but my tactic would be get away from the city and towns, and I'm going to head to the country. A lot less people, rough terrain. I know the area well. I'm an experienced hunter, and I'm good at building things, so I really think I could hack it out there in the country with a lot less people to worry about, a lot less walkers, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, especially where you're, what was it, Springville, Pennsylvania, which is like, one person for every 100 miles or so. There's not a great deal of people out there. So that was my idea too. I think it's tough because I'm not that far from, I'm semi-major city, so it's like you kind of stuck. And I'm not that far from DC, and I was almost thinking DC could probably be one of the worst places to go to or one of the best places to go to, depending on the situation. So, but yeah, I could see that logic.
I would tend to, I mean, Greg has a lot of good points about his, but I would tend to stay away from those places just because it's going to see so many invaders trying to come and take it.
But it's a very good defensible spot, and you're just kind of running out in the open the whole time.
I think it's a good temporary spot. I don't see it as a good long-term solution, though. I don't know. I would tend to stay away from those types of places. Not to mention the people that are in it at the time, too.
Yeah, I think with Greg, I think you're great at protecting yourself from zombies because you have so much there. But I think your bigger issue would be humans. I mean, you do have a good defensive stance for sure. Though, again, if you're out in the open, you also have the issue of people coming after you there, too. I don't know. Because, there might be with people with the same idea of let's go out to the country where there's less people. And that's why they call it a zombie apocalypse, I guess, because it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I'm curious to hear what other people would go to. I thought about Sam's Club as well. But I don't really have any ones around here, really. And the ones that are, there's not much. I'd rather die than spend zombie apocalypse in some of the Sam's Club in my area. Maybe a Wegmans, I know. So the second part of that as well. I mean, Greg, I know on your location, you're at a pretty ample supply. Chuck and I are kind of a little bit more trouble there because we're out in the open, like you mentioned, so we don't have a lot of supplies with us. But in this step 2, we are choosing our tools. Now it's time to choose your equipment. We get to guarantee ourselves, the key here is guarantee ourselves 5 specific items, because even if you go to a location, like I mentioned, I have a Rite Aid near here, doesn't necessarily mean what I want is going to be there. But within this, we can guarantee ourselves different items. 4 of them have to be within reason. So, for example, I would love to have a sword, but I would need to explain where and when I would get it. Something like a knife or an axe is a little bit more commonplace, and it's not limited to weapons, however. Food, supplies, etc. Anything is on the table as long as you can give a legitimate reason for it when it comes to the first 4 items. The last item, to make it a little bit more fun, this is the kicker. The last item can be anything. Anything is on the table. It can even be a made-up weapon, like a Star Wars blaster or something from Star Trek, or maybe one ring to rule them all. I don't know. Anything is on the table for the 5th one. I figured, let's have some fun with it. We are geeks, but that is what we do. So I guess I started last time. Chuck, do you want to start this time with explaining what your different supplies would be?
Sure. Should I just read off my 4 off the bat, or?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Let's see. First item I gotta have with me is my Bible, my King James Bible. Times are gonna get tough out there. I need that to keep me running true. I'm gonna need to set an example for the youngsters in the new apocalyptic age, since everyone else's morals will probably go out the window.
Mine.
I'm gonna definitely have that Denzel Washington feel from Book of Eli for sure.
You'll be the Herschel of this zombie apocalypse.
Yes, Herschel is always the the spiritual leader. He's the guy that keeps everybody true and pointed in the right direction, kind of the heart of the group, so to speak. So I gotta have my Bible with me. Next thing any survivalist needs is a knife.
Nice.
You gotta have a trusty knife for all sorts of tasks.
No, it's a knife.
Self-defense, obviously against the walkers or people. Hunting, you're going to need it to possibly kill the animal or skin it, gut it. You're going to use your knife for building shelters, prying things open, things like that if you have a heavy-duty knife, and also starting fire. You can gather your wood with it and different things like that. So that's a necessity for sure. And that kind of leads in the next thing, which would be a fire stick. And these, by the way, are all things that I have already. So it's very viable that I could get these things. A fire stick, I have a magnesium fire stick with a flint on the back. And I have actually used it a couple of times to start a fire. It's actually quite handy.
And then we didn't start the fire, and then,
Yeah. Everybody chimes in, But fire's always a morale booster, not to mention, obvious reasons of heat and light. You could create it sort of behind a structure if you want to shield the light, if anyone's seeing the light, things like that. You could also kind of have like a structure with like 2 sides to kind of kick more heat back at you and stuff like that. So I would have to have a fire stick with me, absolutely. That's one of the essentials of survival. And then my 4th practical object would be a water filter. And a really good water filter, like they sell them today attached to a bottle already. You could probably make a good one too. You need water to survive. You can't go long without it. I've always heard of, in survival things, the rule of the 3s. You can go 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. And apparently 3 seconds without internet. But so yeah, you gotta have water. You gotta have a lot of water, and especially within the first 3 days, and you're gonna need to have a constant supply. And not all the water you find is gonna be clean. It's gonna end up making you more sick, and you could end up dying really quickly by drinking some bad water. So that would be my 4th essential practical item.
Very cool. Greg, what about yourself?
First, I'd have a rifle, which Gander Mountain's right next door. So I'd pick up a rifle, and that'd be for my a long-range offense, defense kind of thing. And I've got a perfect little spot to nest up on top of the roof of Sam's Club. Next thing I need is a machete, because you don't need to reload a machete, and that'll work great for my spots where it's a little close-range fighting. And that, of course, I could get right at the Sam's Club. Next up, I need a wetsuit. And you guys are probably like, well, was Greg going swimming? I'm not going swimming, you guys. That's to protect my skin from zombie bites. It's nice thick rubber, and it's really tough to bite through, so I got a nice little protection just in case from my nice little wetsuit. And that, of course, I could probably get a Gander Mountain as well, or there's a Dick's down the road. Not that type of Dick, people. I'm not being dirty this time. And then for my last item, I would get a motorcycle helmet to protect my head as well against all that kind of stuff. So I've got a little, and I could get that at there's a Harley Davidson maybe about 5 minutes down the road from Sam's Club. So I've got half offense and half defense kind of going on there. So
Interesting.
I hope you'd have a steady water supply, because you're going to sweat your ass off in that wetsuit.
Yeah. Technically, he's at Walmart, so or at Sam's
Club, and there's Walmart not that far away, and other stores.
Yeah. I just want to see a dude. So if I see a guy walking in a wetsuit and a motorcycle helmet, I know to keep running, because bad things are coming. Keep that in mind. Okay, so I took a different. Funny, because we all kind of went different ways with this. That's kind of cool. But my first idea is, when I'm thinking about this, is when you think about any situation like this, what's going to kill people first? It's like you mentioned, Chuck, starvation and disease are probably the two big things that are going to kill people. So the first thing I want to have is an ample water supply. I have filters within my house. I have also hydration backpacks, those ones that you can carry on your back, and it's a good way to keep water with you, easier to carry. I want to have that, because honestly, beyond anything, you need water. So you can't go that long without it. With that, also, disease. What do you need with disease? What do you need to fight disease? Antibiotics. I have, like I mentioned, a Rite Aid and different stores like that within this area. I would go straight for some antibiotics as much as I can get. Also feel like they'd be good to use if there was ever some sort of trading ever designed. Having antibiotics would probably be like having gold. So I think if there was any type of cultural situation ever designed, I think having those would be huge. Other thing, obviously, food. So canned food supply. That's, to me, really big, because you need food. You got to protect yourself within that. It's hard to fight undead when you have an empty tummy. Also, for me, I'm thinking of something that can keep you on the move, because I'll get into my rules later. Some people might disagree with this, but I'd want bicycles. They can get you to locations faster, easy to transport. They're quiet. They're not nearly as loud as a car. You can take them off road. So I think bicycles would be.
Plus, you don't need gasoline for those.
Don't need gasoline for them either. So, you are expending energy within that, but so you would be the same thing if walking can cover a larger ground. So, I think bicycles would be huge if you can have those as well. And there's actually a bike shop not that far from me that I can get myself some bikes. And again, that's not motorbikes, but I'm not going to be Daryl riding on a Harley. I'll be Swin Armstrong, Lance Armstrong, in the zombie apocalypse riding a bike. So those are my 4 practical items. Now becomes the fun part, our off the wall items. So Chuck, what is your off the wall item that you'll be adding to your kit?
I would say, can I say super soldier serum?
Sure, go right ahead.
That would be cool and all, but maybe I think what I would pick, I kind of just thought of this. I would pick Blink's javelins.
Nice.
And if I ever got in trouble, I could just jump through a portal somewhere else.
Damn it, that's super close to what I was going to say.
What is yours, Greg?
Teleportation device.
Nice.
Handheld teleportation device.
I'm surprised you didn't go with like the TARDIS or something.
Well, then I would just get out of there in like 2 seconds, and it would be all over.
Just go to another century.
Yep, pretty much.
No. Teleportation.
Let's see what's going on here.
See, those are smart. Blink's teleportation. That's a good idea.
It's a good way to get supplies. Like, I can Blink right next door to Lowe's and pick stuff up and everything, get food and stuff. That's why I really didn't need all that other stuff, is because I could just blink across and get other stuff all around me.
Oh, very smart. You guys are thinkers. I went different, because if you notice in my list, I didn't mention anything about a weapon or anything like that. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with the ultimate weapon. I'm going lightsaber. I feel like, nice. You can have it to help you build things. It will kill zombies. It's you can.
What happens when the battery runs out, Dan?
They run on the Force. I thought.
No, they have batteries.
It's the crystals.
I've read the manuals. I have the Star Wars Jedi guide.
I'll get extra batteries. They don't come.
You'd also have a Green Lantern battery to charge it.
Does it indicate batteries not included? Because that would suck.
Oh, that lady died from that movie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I went with lightsaber. Like I said, you can easily kill the undead. It'll cauterize wounds. You can cut their heads off. So with no splatter, So I went lightsaber, but teleportation device. That I gotta admit, I'm a little jealous of that. So. All right, so next comes the last step. What are our rules? Because we have our location, we have our supplies, but how are we going to live our lives? Even in a world with no rules, in order to survive, you must create your own. What 3 rules will you live by? Will you refuse to help others in need? Never stay in one place longer than a few days? Always sleep with one eye open? What are you going to do? So, Greg, we'll start with you on this one. What rules will you be following in the zombie apocalypse?
Always check people you don't know for, well, even people you do know for bites. There's a lot of zombie movies I've seen. People always get bit or there's some interaction and it's like, oh, it's nothing. I just got scratched or everything. You need like a quarantine zone for that. So you always have to check people for bites. They'll hide it. It'll be in a spot that you won't really notice, or people are just already covered in blood in the first place. So always check for bites and be super careful about that and quarantining and stuff.
What do I feel like this is also a way for you to get hot chicks naked? I'm just checking for bites. That's all I'm doing.
It's also a statement on our current crisis with Ebola as well.
My first rule is kind of simple. It's run, run, run. I wouldn't try to get caught up in fighting zombies. My theory is try not to. I would be more the keep on moving type of person unless I found an actual like fortified location. So I feel like a lot of times in zombie movies you get people who are just get caught up in killing them, but considering the fact they're slow, they can't maneuver that well. Sometimes it's just running is your best option. I mean, it's not always your only option, but like that's a big key of why I wanted the bikes to kind of just get separation away from the zombies. So that's my number one.
Gotta keep them separated. Hey.
Exactly. Chuck, what's your first rule?
I will be an Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right. No, probably, I guess my first rule, I would say something like, as far as strangers go, I would always show kindness to them, but never trust them. It'd be kind of a they have to prove themselves type of thing. So I would take every precaution necessary to make sure being nice to someone doesn't bite me in the butt. But I would never lose that, that will to kind of show kindness to people and give them that chance, because you can build a lot of strong allies, and as long as you're cautious about it.
Yeah, I think that's a good rule to live by. Greg, what is your second rule?
I think I'm going to go with a rule that's, I'm going to swipe it from a movie. Zombieland. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It is awesome. This rule is double tap. Make sure the zombie is down. I'm near Gander Mountain, so I don't think bullets are going to be that much of an issue, or I could just double tap with my machete. That's one of my rules.
Double tap. I love that. Is a good call. Now, when you said that, I'm like, when you said you're going to steal it from Zombieland, I'm like, is it befriend Bill Murray? Because that's that's one of my.
Because it makes you instantly sad when somebody accidentally kills him.
Oh man, that is such a good movie. I do love that movie a lot.
Yes, I do too.
My second rule is go against the grain. Basically, if a lot of people are doing something, I'm going to try to do the opposite. So you hear a message saying, come to this location, we're safe. I'm going to bet that that's not true, most likely, and try to go against that. So
you're not going to go to the termites?
No, I'm not going to. I'm not. I feel like, especially in the early stages where it's like people telling people to do different things, I'm going to try to go against that. And like I said, my thing is go where people aren't. So that's my biggest goal. So go against the grain. I think it's a good rule to live by. Chuck, what is your second rule?
I guess my second rule would be something to the effect of stay physically and mentally sharp always. Obviously, like another thing from Zombieland was always keep up your conditioning.
Yes.
In case you need to run. But that has like a practical meaning to it. And the mental side of it as well. Never get complacent with where you are, always expect the unexpected. Kind of be that Batman type of mentality where like try to envision something going wrong and where are the flaws in your system and your plan, and try to have contingencies for it, and what would you do, and practice it so that you know exactly what to do and you don't have any mistakes when push comes to shove. Basically keep yourself mentally and physically sharp.
Well, the super soldier serum would help with that. I mean, that's
it certainly would.
Yeah. All right, Greg, what is your last rule?
My last rule is kind of a rule that we use, a lot of people use now, and I think it works well with both, but it's a simple one. Keep it simple, stupid. The rule's simple, and the thought behind it is simple. You just got to keep things simple. The world's complex enough with zombies attacking and humans maybe attacking, or people trying to get one over on you, but just keep it simple.
Makes sense, Don't overcomplicate zombies. I mean, they're pretty straightforward with their desires. They want brains, There's no reasoning with them. You can't sign a peace treaty with zombies.
And then if I was to do a fourth rule, it's going to be really stupid, so it's not going to count at all. But don't befriend animals because of I Am Legend.
Oh.
Right?
No, I'm sad.
It's so sad.
That's the reason to this day that I will not buy that DVD.
Oh, it's so sad.
Shed a tear. I saw a really sad article, too, the other day where it's like, famous pets that you know now are dead. I'm like, why would you write that article? That's just, that makes me feel so bad. It's like,
that person has no heart.
Yeah. You remember Homeward Bound? Yeah, all those animals, yeah, they're dead. It's like, well, thanks for killing my childhood. I appreciate that. All right. Well, my second rule, besides saddening you with dead puppy stories, would be pick a team, but the right one. I do think eventually you do need to form a group with some sort of people. But I think, like Chuck, you mentioned, the key is not to necessarily trust people. Maybe do a lot of scouting, kind of see people from afar, see how they communicate, see how they work, and then maybe eventually join it. Because I think just based upon human need and like be able to let your guard down just a little bit, I do think you need some sort of structure there. Because if you're ever going to make society better again, you're going to need to try to build up some sort of culture in that way, where you can farm for food, or you can have at least protection where you're not always on guard 100% of the time, where you can just let it down the slightest, or you'll just drive yourself insane. So I would pick a team. I would eventually get to them, but I would be very cautious in how I get there. So, because I don't want to be joining up with some, governor crazy mofo and start blasting people for no reason. But, that's just me. All right, Chuck, what is your last rule?
I guess my last rule would be something along the same lines as your last one. I do agree you're gonna get involved with a group at some point, unless you're a complete loner and run from people altogether. But I think it would have some advantages forming a group, something like in Walking Dead, and that's kind of where my rule would come into place. Like if you get a good solid group of people that you trust, just always have each other's back no matter what. And just having those people that you can rely on, it's just like in our real lives now, having a family and close friends that you can rely on can mean the world of difference. Really put you on track to where you need to be and to really succeed at whatever it is you're trying to do.
Very cool. I could see how that would be very important in the zombie apocalypse. So I think we all have different ways of doing it. A little bit similar. There's similarities for sure, because I think there are some universal truths when it comes to surviving a zombie apocalypse. But there are some different ideas there as well. And like I mentioned, I'll be putting a post on geekcastradio.com where you can vote to see whose plan you would choose. And if you say none of them, well, tell us why and what your choices would be. What will your rules be? What would your supplies be? Where would you want to stay in a zombie apocalypse? It's all up for grabs. But before we go, we like to end each episode with a letter. And this week, I have a letter, and I would say I hesitate to call it a letter. It's more of a venting exercise. This past few weeks, I don't know what it is with the seasons changing. I don't know. But traffic has been brutal in my neck of the woods. Awful today. It took me 2 hours to get to work. Every day there's a new accident or something going on. I don't know what it is. Like, it rained 3 days ago. So suddenly for today, people lose the ability to drive. because of this frustration, I had to let it out somehow. So I'm going to write a letter to traffic. So I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this letter. Dear traffic, I hate you. I hate you so much. I hate you to the bottom of your bitter soul that is full of puppy tears and clown scares. I hate how you will take a 45-minute drive and expand it to a never-ending 2 hours. A slow crawl of bumper-to-bumper traffic that never seemingly ends. I hate how something as simple as a minor fender bender on the opposite highway can bring my ride to a screeching halt, as if people need to stare at amazement of two people who are sharing their insurance information. How traffic will be more congested than a doctor's waiting room during busy season for no reason whatsoever. I hate how traffic will suddenly shift from moving swiftly to an abrupt stop, then start again for no apparent reason whatsoever. No accident, no closed lanes, no construction, nothing. As if everyone was just collectively deciding to stop and enjoy their life in their car for a few moments. Traffic, if I've been too harsh, I don't apologize, because you are simply the worst. You are the epitome of evil wrapped in a blanket of annoyance. You are the bringer of rage and the crushing of dreams of getting home at a reasonable hour. If you were a bug, I would squish you without hesitation. I would take your disemboweled carcass and light it on fire and throw it to the deepest cavern, just to watch you fall. I wish I had a way to fix traffic, to make it better, to ease my pain, but unfortunately I don't. If you're in a situation like me, if you just can't stand the idea of being stuck in traffic any longer, I advise going on a diatribe like me, because I gotta admit, it does make you feel better. Unlike Back to the Future, we still need roads. When we finally get those hoverboards we've been promised, maybe the leaf will finally come. Maybe we can finally drive to work and not have to wait 18 hours just because snow is possibly in the forecast in 4 days from now. So suddenly that means everyone needs to go to a crawling halt, or people don't know how yield signs work, or because people, when they say go to this other lane, they decide, not for me, I'm staying in this lane until the bitter end, and then making things worse. So if you're that person, I hate you so much. Stop doing that. Stop it. And
stop it.
Also, it'd be nice if traffic alerts happen when they're actually accurate, not, updating you after the fact. I get updates on my phone saying, traffic accident. Great. This would be helpful 15 minutes ago before I made the turn, so I'm stuck there anyways. So not very helpful. But anyways, all I'm saying is I can't wait till we live in a world where we don't have traffic. Maybe I just need to work from home and I won't have that situation. But for now, we don't. And I must say, it does feel good to get this off my chest, hopefully. And of course, I did have the opportunity to write this when I was stuck in traffic. So there you go. Anyways. But that's all for me for now. Traffic, I'm sure we'll meet again. We seemingly always do. P.S. Traffic, go yourself.
Dan, the FBI just called. Somebody has apparently murdered traffic, and you're the number one suspect.
I would be proud.
I think it might be because of that letter.
Yeah, if I went to jail for murdering traffic, I think I would be a hero. I'd be a national hero.
Did you guys ever see those like video, or not video, but the message boards on the side of the road that have like the writing on them and usually warn you of something up ahead? And I remember seeing this one, a picture of it. It said like the actual text was, "You're never getting to work on time. Ha 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 ha." There's this huge line of cars and like backed up from it. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah. There's few things in the world that like annoy me more than traffic. I don't know why. Traffic and getting lost. It's just awful. It's so annoying because it's just a waste of time and just like, oh.
Yeah.
And
I start turning green when I'm in traffic.
Full on, yeah. It is insane.
Clothes are ripping and stuff.
Yeah, it is crazy. And it does suck because like my drives to work can be awful. Today was actually pretty good driving home, which I was excited about, but it's a crapshoot to say the least. But anyways, like I mentioned, we'd love to hear your feedback about this episode, especially about what you think about the zombie game. And there's a lot of ways to get in contact with us. You can email us at talkingincircles@live.com or feedback at geekcastradio.com. We're on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Talking in Circles, GCRN. Greg, you are still on Twitter. I believe you're at Funko. Is that correct? Or do you have a different Twitter name?
No, Funko's at me. I am at the Create Forge.
And I am at Movie Revolt, and Chuck is at Not on Twitter. So there you go.
Somebody please look up Not at Twitter.
They're getting a lot of follows because of us. That's what I'm saying.
I'm at TwitterSucks264.
But the best way to get in contact with us is probably by commenting on the episode post at geekcastradio.com or nerdly.co.uk. Also, we would love to get some iTunes reviews. Those things are huge and helpful. We haven't got some in a while. Appreciate it if we get some. If you listen.
How dare you, people?
I know. We do appreciate those iTunes reviews. They're hugely helpful. We'd love to get some more. And if those that have done that, we truly appreciate it. But anyways, that'll be it for this week. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, same podcast feed. But for now,
this has been Chuck.
This has been Greg, or the Mole Man.
And this has been Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week. So would the Mole Man survive the zombie apocalypse?
Oh yeah, he's unless one of the moloids comes above ground and gets bitten and then takes it down. But otherwise, I think he's fine if he just stays down there and all the moloids don't go wandering off. I think he's okay.
Yeah, he might be in a good spot. He's hard to spot. He's small. He's wildly. He's hard to contain.
Yeah.
He can't see very well though. The bright lights affect his eyes.
Yeah.
So you wear those tiny glasses with the slits. So you can't take the bright light.
Yeah. Oh, poor Mole Man. He would not stand a chance. But he's got his friends to help him.
He was doing pretty good against Daredevil, let me tell you. In that book, he was like jumping around, flipping around, and he was holding his own against Daredevil.
I'm talking about the blind leading the blind.
That's surprising. I've always thought of Mole Man as like the dorkiest character ever.
He really is. Such a dweeb-looking guy.
Yeah.
He looks like the old dude from Simpsons that always gets kicked in the balls for no apparent reason or what have you.
Hi, this is Chuck.
This is Greg. This is Greg.
Saying it through a fast food thing?
Looking at number 7.
Yeah, this is Greg.
Okay, can we do this over again?
Yeah.
I got a lapper.
That's gonna be a blooper.
He's our Big Mac daddy.
But before we go, we like to end each letter with an episode. We like to end each... Wow. Did I say end each letter with an episode? Oh, man. It's been a long day.
I'm surprised it took 40 episodes for that to happen.
Wow. Oh, and that will go in the bloopers as well. You are welcome, America. All right.
America, this is you.
Was that the theme to America's Funniest People?
Yeah, the one with Bob Saget.
That's a good show.
Oh, I remember watching that when I was like 5 years old.
Oh, man.
It was awesome.
Oh, wow. That is pretty amazing. All right.